Hi everybody. So this is the second part of making of that ephemera folder insert kind of thing. So I have decided to make this use of this ephemera card that came in the kit that I was working with, uh, blue vintage blue Christmas, whatever. So I decided to add that as a topper, and you can add papers in between these two folds. And here is another pocket, and this is pretty substantial, and I've added this card inside this. And then again you have this, so this is added to the side tuck, and the little angel image I plan on making as a pocket. So I'm going to glue this after I finish everything, not right away. So the first thing now I need to figure out is how to add that front element. And then you can see at the back I have this image. This image also came in the kit, and I want to cover this side strip because even though it's very neutral looking, but I want to add a little bit of embellishment to it. So probably I'll go and do that later. And the general cards that go inside this are mainly from the ephemera kit that I have of this blue vintage Christmas. So I'm going to add this on the cover, but I'm going to create a very easy topper layered look sort of thing, and I'm going to show you how you can do that too with very little effort and a little bit of scraps here and there. So let's begin. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a base. Now you can use a corrugated base also, but I'm just taking a simple sheet of paper, and I'm just measuring out the amount I will need. So I'm just going to tear this as per my requirements according to the width of the topper that I'm going to be making. So this is the topper I want, and I'm going to just place this main focal point and tear the rest off. So now I know that this paper is a little bit larger than the focal point. That's what I intended to do, because I'm going to create the panel separately, and then I'm going to glue it down on the insert that we are working on. So for that you can use music paper, scraps of book pages, neutral looking images, or something to bring out that blue and the greens in the image. But and then you can always embellish them with labels and other stuff. So here I have a lot of scraps from my previous projects of Christmas journals, and most of them are labels from Tsunami Rose Designs, and also some scraps from here and there. And I'm just going through them just to figure out that what I can use. And I'm just going through the stuff. Basically what I do is, after I finish my Christmas projects, I can use these are I think flashcards, sort of mini flashcard sort of thing that Tsunami Rose Designs have in their shop. This is also something that I can use. I'm not sure how, but anyways, let's keep it aside if we manage to use it in some way or the other. So I'm just going through the stuff. So when I'm working on a Christmas project, what I usually do is, not all the images go with the other projects that I would do throughout the year. So I put them aside in separate files or envelopes, and then as I need them, I would go through them. So I'm going to start layering on this piece of paper, and just to make sure, I'm going to cover this up, and then I'm going to add that on the ephemera insert itself. So let's start the process. So initially I want to use some music paper. So these are from my previous projects. So I'm just going to take a little bit off from this music sheet. This is also something about Christmas, so I'm going to layer that, and I'm just guessing how much I need to cover, so I'm going to tuck this in and see. So but I also want a little bit to peek through the sides, so that it looks like it's just not a piece of ephemera glued on some sort of a scrap paper. I don't want that. So I'm just taking off that portion with blueberries because I thought this would look nice, and I'm going to keep that deer image. And I'm trying to stagger this at different heights, if you notice carefully, because that would give you the sense of having things at an interesting the things that we are gluing down will have, if you add heights to them, they will look more interesting and attractive. So that's one of the reasons. And when I'm doing collage, I always talk about putting things down at different heights, because you will see the difference when you start doing things like this. So I'm trying to use that deer, but most of it is going to get covered up, so I'm not very keen on that. I probably will not use that. And I'm just going to trim a little bit from the side, you see, because most of that deer is going to get covered up, and I can still salvage that part, because I want to use it in somewhere where it is visible, not where it's going to get lost. So I'm going to put it this way, and I'm not worried about the bottom part. I will probably use some sort of a label or a mini flashcard sort of thing, so I can use this. This is the mini flashcard kit from Tsunami Rose Designs, so I will be using that. So I'm going to glue this first, and then I'm going to stitch around it, and then I will layer that up on the insert. So I'm just trying to put a little bit of glue, not too much, because eventually I'm going to stitch this. So not too much glue is required, just so that they don't move about too much when I am working with my sewing machine on this piece. So I'm just putting those mini scraps down at the top, and you'll see the middle part of this panel or whatever will remain blank, because ultimately the focal point will cover that up. So you don't need to make this too bulky, but if you want to add more layers, you can definitely go and add that. You can add corrugated sheets, you can peel off the layers and just use one single sheet piece, or you can use fabric, you can use lace. I have done that previously. When I usually do those when I am I will be using that on a journal cover. When I'm using this in an insert or ephemera folio that would go inside the journal, I will probably not put so much layers, maybe just 2 or 3 layers like this. So as you can see, I'm now just trying to figure out how it's going to sit, and I have that blank space, and I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to add this. Probably I'm going to layer that with a little bit of lace, or soften things up. So now I'm just fussy cutting around that. Again, these are the mini flashcards, and I really love them because of their size, because I do have bigger flashcards, but they are not as convenient as this one. This one can be layered, and if you don't need the extra space, you can also trim that up. So I'm going to put this over here, and I also need to trim off the extra that I have. So I'm going to take that off, and now I'm going to stitch around it, and I'll be back to show you how it looks. So first I'm going to stitch this, and then I'll be back and I'll glue this down and show you how this will look. So keep watching, and yeah, so I'm going to put that. So probably I'm going to layer that with a little bit of lace, because that's what I usually do. uh, so here I'm back. So I've added a little bit of things here and there. I've layered the whole thing up. I've stitched this, and then I have also added this flashcard layered on a bit of lace. And I also had a bit of tools which I have made it into a ruffle. I've added at the top just to soften things up. And I'm going to glue this whole panel. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to glue this whole panel on the ephemera folder or the insert. So let's begin the process. I'm going to be using my PVA glue. This is a pretty sturdy glue, and this works pretty fine. I'm just going to add a little bit because I don't want too much of glue oozing out. But this is pretty sturdy and thick glue, so it works fine. So I'm just going to be careful with the amount of glue that I'm using. You can take this insert into another level. As I said, you can make this into a full-fledged journal also. In that case, try to use a more sturdy paper for the construction itself, like cardstock, pattern paper, or some very thick cardstock. You can do it with file folder. So then it's going to be sturdier, and you can use the same concept, and then you know add corrugated cardboard. I'm just trimming the sides off because I thought this looked a little bigger, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to trim a little bit so that it has a little gap from both the sides. So I think it's looking pretty nice and interesting. So now is the time when we will have to glue this down on the main insert itself. So this is how this ephemera folder is looking, and I'm pretty happy with the ephemera insert is looking, and I'm pretty happy with the way it has turned out. So probably I can later on, if I decide to, I don't think I will, I can add a little bit of paper in between these two signature spaces that I have, but you don't have to, so I might not do that. So I'm just gluing this up on the cover, spreading the glue on the topper, and then I'm going to be layering the putting that down on the main insert itself. So this is one of my most hated part in making of a journal. So I'm just trying to place this and see how it goes. So it's looking okay. Now is the time when I'm going to squish this down, and yes, so that's done. So now we have to deal with a few more things that that look a bit bare. One thing for sure is the one pocket. The pockets, you can decorate as you like, you can keep them as you want. So I'm not going to make too much. I probably will add a little bit of label. So I have this was actually a part of a page, but I have salvaged this tiny scrap that I will be laying down. Just in a moment you'll be able to see. I'm totally off the camera when I'm trimming this down. So I will be adding this small label at the top, and maybe something else. I'm not sure for now. We'll see when it comes to towards the ending. So this is going to be its look. I'm not going to over embellish things because then you sort of take away so many things from the main kit itself, and you don't need to do that. That is the first thing. I'm going to be gluing this as a pocket, and I'm going to glue on two sides. I'm going to keep two sides open, and so that I can tuck something in. Uh, so I'm just going to glue that down. Again, one of my most unpleasant tasks, that is to put glue on the two sides. So here it is. So this becomes a pocket. So this was actually a journal card from the kit itself, and I decided to make this into pocket. That's it. So I'll probably layer things up and I'll be back to show you how it looks, but I need to cover this up, and I'm not sure what I'm planning on doing over here. So I'll probably finish the entire thing and I'll be back to show you the finished result of how it's looking. So keep watching and don't skip any part. I'll be back to show you the finished look. So now I'm back to show you how this actually has turned out, and I'm pretty happy with the way things are looking. I didn't want to make it too grungy, so I didn't ink too much on the inside, just a slight smattering. So I have used these tiny bells with some muslin as a closure. So you can, if you want, you can use eyelets for that matter. And at the back, what I've done is I've used this word Christmas, and I've just fussy cut out that rose. Now those are not from my kits, those are from Len Art Studio papers, which I had and I've been using. And I've added just a tiny scrap lace piece to the middle section of the insert, and now it's totally done. So I've also added that circular label that you see. Now what I've done is I have added one bell to one side of the closure, and I'm going to use add this bell to the other side. So I'm going to show you, if you have a very wide kind of strip of paper, fabric that you can't put through the tiny hole of the any kind of bead or anything, you can use this method. So what I usually do is I just cut this at an angle, and I try to make something very very pointy kind of stuff. Now I just tried a different angle which turned out to be awful, and yeah, I'm just going to pass this through the tiny bell. So I'm going to um, give it a good try and see if it goes through. No, it needs to be sharpened a little bit more, I guess. So I'm just going to be you know yeah, so now it's passing through. So I'm just going to pull this up, and you'll see that wide fabric will go inside this tiny hole very easily. And yeah, so it worked pretty fine, so that's okay. I'm just going to give it a tie two knots to it, and later on what I can do is I can go back and add a little bit of glue. You can do that, and give it a twist so that it stays put, or you can even tie some thread to this. You can add fabric tack, whatever. So this is how I'm tying my insert. So I think it has turned out pretty well, and way beyond what I had expected perhaps. But again, as I said, this idea can be tweaked to make a lot of more innovative things. Like you can make it into a full-fledged journal if you so want, and in that case you just need to add some papers, and instead of printer paper, then please use cardstock paper. So bye everybody.